Say my name. I am awake. I am the danger. I am the one who knocks.
Welcome back to Breaking Into Breaking Bad. This is Season 5, Episode 4. The title of the episode is 51. Cabes, you want to give us a little recap of what happens here in this episode for those who have not seen it in a while, maybe?
Yeah, sure. This one wasn't a whole lot going on. It was mostly just a bunch of drama between Walter, Skyler, and you have a little bit of a Walt Jr. and Hank and Marie dabbled in there a little bit. But we finally get to see Skyler kind of break out of her submissive shell that she's been in the last few episodes and kind of voice her opinion on what's going on with Walt. And Walt kind of is going into this weird thing. He buys himself and Junior 2 brand new cars, or leases them, I should say, and lets Skyler know that he's started up the business again. And in the end of the episode, Skyler has a freak out and walks into the pool, if everyone remembers that episode, and basically tells Walt that she doesn't want Holly and Junior in the house anymore. And she's just kind of turned into this, I don't know how you would say it, just ghost of a body that's just kind of sitting in the house. Things are kind of heating up. The DEA went and caught somebody from Madrigal, where if you guys remember Lydia, her employee that was helping her take the methylamine barrels. So the DEA caught her, and then at the end of the episode, you see that someone had planted a tracker on the barrels. So the gist of this episode was mostly going on with Walt and Skyler and where their relationship is at now, which is at I'd say an all-time low. Okay, thanks for that summary there. So the title of the episode, I think, is pretty obvious. It's called 51, and it a kind of centerpiece of the episode is Walt's 51st birthday. And we're reminded of how the whole show started with him turning 50 and getting cancer and all of that. That happened a year ago. So that's helpful, kind of gives us a frame of reference as far as timing goes, to know how much time has passed. And actually, it's been quite a lot, really, that's crammed into a single year. 4 seasons worth has been in one full year of it. Yeah. So that's the title. The introduction, as you already alluded to, is Walt and Walter Jr. are at the mechanic, and this is an interesting intro. And I was trying to ask myself, what was the writer trying to show us in this scene? So he's picking up his car after having paid a lot of money. We remember that he had wrecked it with Hank in the car to prevent them from checking out the laundromat. And that was a pretty severe accident. So there was a lot of damage done to the car. So Walt pays all this money to get the car fixed. Walt doesn't. His insurance does. He paid zero. Okay. So okay, fair point. Yeah, insurance dished out $1,900 for it. Okay, so now, okay, fair point. A lot of money's been spent getting the car back up to tip-top shape, and then Walt sells it for $50 to the mechanic, who's like, "Yeah, it's a good car. It'll run for a long time." And he does it critically after picking up his Heisenberg hat, which I guess he had sort of lost or had forgotten that he'd left it in the car. So he picks it up, and there's this look that kind of comes on his face, and it's almost like a Jekyll and Hyde. Yeah, that's one metaphor. We've done that one before, but remember the movie The Mask with Jim Carrey? Oh yeah. It was like that quick by putting it on. Right. He puts it on, and in the same way that the mask kind of takes over the character in The Mask,
he says, "Why don't you just give me $50 for it?" Which is insane. And Walter Jr. is looking at him like, "What, Dad? Why would you do that?" And the mechanic can't really figure it out either, right? But we're not operating when he's Heisenberg. He's not operating on a normal, cost benefit analysis. Remember the old Walt with the list, the pros and cons. Should we kill Crazy
Yeah.
Eight or not? Like, no, we're not operating like that. This is a completely different person operating under different ways of thinking. So he gets the $50, and he goes and leases himself a new car, and he pulls into the driveway next to Walter Jr., who's in his PT Cruiser that remember Skyler had got and said it was it's a safe,
very safe
car. Yeah, very safe. And they don't even say anything. They just look at each other and nod, and then they back out. And then the next scene is them pulling back in, and now Walter Jr.'s got the Dodge Charger once again. And this might be one of the very few times where Walt truly does look sort of like a gangster who's enjoying all the money that he's made. He doesn't get to enjoy his money ever for a long period of time, but this is one of the moments when it's sort of a flash in the pan when he gets to enjoy his status and his security and his money. And he tells Skyler that they can maintain a story because they're just leasing it, and they'll make sure to tell everybody that they're just leasing these cars. They didn't buy them. So anyway, that's the introduction. So then the show starts with this first scene of Lydia and Madrigal, and we hear her on a Zoom call of some kind in German, and we know that there's a lot going on there, and she's worried and paranoid as normal for her. But then she has every reason to be paranoid because Hank and Gomi show up, and they're interested in talking to her, and then she leads them to some other guy, and they arrest that guy, and that guy looks at her and gives her a look. I'm surprised Hank didn't pick up on it, because he picked up on the fact that she was wearing mismatched shoes.
Right.
Which reminds us that Hank can be very observant.
Yeah, he did bring her up. Yeah, her name up later when he was talking about the shoes. So maybe there was something, but you're right. He didn't see the look when they arrested that one dude.
Yeah, Ron, her guy.
Ron, yep.
So if we remember, she's paranoid to the degree that Mike should already have known. He can't trust her. Her paranoia takes over, and she's not able to think straight. And he needs people who can think straight in order to work with them. She's demonstrated that she can't do that. She tried to get him killed. And so she certainly doesn't have his good or see her interest keeping him alive. So she continues to sort of spiral into worry when this guy is replaced, and Mike says, "Don't worry about it. I'll send you somebody else who will be able to come pick up the methylamine, and we'll just carry on as normal." So that's the first scene. So then it shows Hank back at the agency, and he's got these strings and pictures all over the wall, and he's trying to piece together the whole puzzle. And it sort of looks like a wild conspiracy, which is how it started and how most people looked at the conjectures that Hank was making for a long time, until, of course, he was proven right in a lot of ways. And so now there's still some pretty massive gaps that he can't figure out with the story. So that's where he is. And then his boss comes in and tells him that he himself is taking a promotion and that his spot will be available to run the whole
well, I
DEA.
I think he was the ASAC of El Paso, and he was saying
definitely the ASAC.
Well, he needed to get back to El Paso, and
because they don't have an ASAC,
right? Because remember they fired that ASAC because he didn't listen to Hank,
right?
And so
you
they
can't
were ASAC-less.
Yeah, I mean, try to imagine a DEA without an ASAC. I mean, that's like a choir without a tenor.
It's unheard of, right?
Yeah, no, completely unheard of, unprecedented, even.
So you could tell it was a big. What would you say? Just it's what he wanted for sure. I mean, he said like, "Oh, Marie would kill me if I said no," but you could tell that this is a position that he wanted.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't think so, because it reminded me so much of what we've seen already when he was given the opportunity to go to El Paso before, and it meant giving up the case. And this is sort of a vice that we've seen with Hank, is that he's gotten overly obsessed with this case. He's made it personal. It's no longer business. He's not able to separate his own feelings and attachment to it from the objectivity that he needs in order to sort of operate well in the space. And so you see the hesitation when the guy says, now, if you take this position, of course, it will mean that you're over all of the investigations equally, which means you can't be devoted to this one. And it's just written all over Hank's face. And I think I could almost hear him thinking these thoughts. Oh man, that's going to be really hard if I do that, because I won't be able to devote myself to this case. Shoot, Marie's really going to hate me though if I don't take this case, or I don't take this promotion, and it'll feel good to be promoted.
Right. He still wanted the job, for sure.
Yeah.
He still wanted the job, but there was a big difference between getting promoted here and then going to El Paso.
Right. Well, here's what here's what I'm predicting. He's going to tell himself, well, I'm going to do that job, and I'm going to be over all the cases equally, and I'm not going to overly obsess with this one, but I'll still be able to be involved, to some degree. And I think we're going to find, we'll tell me if we'll learn out, but I think we'll find that he is not going to be able to do that well, that he's still going to be overly concerned with this case, probably to the detriment of other cases. And, we'll see. That's his character, though. We'll see if he maintains, fidelity to who he has been, or if he's demonstrating change.
Sounds very similar to Major Winters from Easy Company when he got promoted to the battalion, and he was no longer over Easy Company, and he had to give it up to someone else. It's not so easy.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Great show. If you guys haven't seen it, though, Band of Brothers. Highly recommend it.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do that one next time.
Yeah.
So I think it was also telling the scene changes, and we're back in in Walt's house, and he and Walter Jr. are having they're having a great time together. They're joking around, and we remember it's not that long ago that their relationship was very strained when Walt was living, in the other place, and so they're doing a good job. Walt's satisfied, I think, in that relationship, that things are back to normal and we can maintain this way for a long time. Things are cool. And then, of course, things are icy cold between him and Skyler, and really between Skyler and anybody else. She's just, like you said, a ghost of a person. She's not really there.
But
the thing
that's most telling is that Walt is clueless at this time to the way Skyler is feeling. He has no idea that she's even at the dinner table, much less very upset with the situation. He's not even even in the conversations he has with her, he just says what's on his mind, thinking that she'll agree with his thought process, and then he just goes back to bed or something. It's just, he is absolutely clueless of what she is feeling at this point. Doesn't even bother him at all.
Yeah, almost to a degree that I find hard to believe. Do I really believe that you don't see how completely shut off she is? It gets a little incredulous at times.
It's like he's so into him winning over Gus and him taking control of the situation that he's just, of course you should agree with me. Why wouldn't you? I am owning this situation. I'm killing it. Why wouldn't you? That'd be silly for you not to agree. So I'm just going to assume that you agree with everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a telling scene when he's in bed with her and they're getting ready to say goodnight. And he's talking to her and he says, I want us to start looking forward to things again, which is a very hopeful, perspective. And that's so opposite of the way this show started on his 50th birthday, right? Where it was just so depressed. There was nothing to look forward to except death and maybe poverty for his family and all that. So he's feeling very hopeful. It's an open question of whether he has actual reasonable reason to be hopeful, or is he just being wishful, is he lost in delusions of grandeur? But he asks her for a birthday party and a chocolate cake. And it's almost boyish, it's almost boyish. And we remember last time for his 50th, she went all out. She invited all these friends that we've never seen again in the show, but they're out there somewhere. And he thinks maybe she'll just invite them all back and we'll have a big surprise party. And so to me, that was a clue that he's not really clued into reality. He doesn't really see things as they are. He's living in a different place.
Right. Leaves work early and gets all excited. Yeah, it was very childish. Not very Heisenberg at all, to be honest. And just very it's almost like a third type of personality, because it's not necessarily Walt per se either. I don't see that. Very, very childish.
So then he wakes up the next morning, it's his birthday, and he kind of debases her in a way by making her get up and form the bacon into a 51. I mean, it's just sort of like, hey, get to work. You need to do this. Stand up, come over here, break the bacon up into pieces and form the 51. Like, do it. It was just kind of demeaning, I thought.
Well, especially when the one wasn't a complete one. And so he's like, it really is not much of a one. It's like, was he wanting her to go cook another piece of bacon? I
don't know. Right? But it was just, I was getting uncomfortable. I mean, it was Walter Jr. on one hand. It was like, oh, come on, like tradition. Like, we got to do it.
He was kind of pushing it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, okay, so like for his sake, maybe Walt's thinking like, yeah, let's play along. Let's just be silly. But again, it just seemed kind of boyish.
Right.
So anyway, that's how things start. And then you're right. He tells Jesse he's got to leave early that day because he's probably got there's probably a lot of people waiting for me, and I got to get back. And I'm feeling really uncomfortable for him. Like, oof, guy, there's definitely not going to be a surprise party for you. So he gets home, and Skyler is playing the part, to the letter of the law. She's like, I did exactly what you wanted, nothing more. Here's the chocolate cake. We're having what you can technically call a birthday party, but that's it. Very low key. And so, it's one of those Hank and Marie come over. It's one of the dinner parties that they have. They're out back kind of having a good time. And Walt is I think, again, reflective of his optimistic mode. He's looking back with gratitude over the last year, thinking, man, things were really bad. We've come through a lot of things, and here we are. And isn't it great that we're here at this place now? And it couldn't be more opposite from where Skyler is. And
Hank too, because Hank was just told from Marie that Skyler was having an affair. So everyone was just like, why are you talking about like good things right now? It was just very, very awkward. Yeah. No one really knew how to, like, Walt was the only oblivious one at that table.
That's right.
Everyone else was just awkward.
Everybody else is uncomfortable and trying to put a good face on, but
right.
Yeah. So in a way, he's the only one that's sort of at ease. Everybody else is sort of tense.
Right.
And it was evident. I really liked. I thought it was a testament to the acting that you could feel how awkward it was.
Right.
The small talk.
Yep.
Well, so like it just was it was just palpable. You could just feel it in the air.
Well, and then Hank was talking about buying the 2 cars, and then Skylar's rolling her eyes because she knows that was a dumb move.
Lease, Capes. They just leased it.
Of course.
You should see the lease rates right now. I mean, they're really good.
I forget the word. Attractive. They're very attractive.
Very attractive. And then he's recounting the last, what things that have happened over the last year, and especially his cancer treatment. That's, to Hank and Marie, at least, that's supposed to be the biggest thing that's gone on. And then Skylar's just sort of casually walking into the pool, fully dressed. It's still, I can't tell if it was an act on her part or if it was some sort of real suicidal, ideation or whatever, where she's just sort of thinking about, what if I were to end it all right now? Or if she calculated, as Walt suspects later on in the episode, that she was doing it to manipulate the whole situation so that her kids would get out of the house.
It was tough because before she walked in, it showed her staring into the deep end for a longer period of time. The camera was kind of fixated on that from her point of view. And to me, it just felt like raw emotion, just having a reaction to what's going on, because the last 2-3 episodes, she's been nothing but a shell. And so this was the first time that you see her actually react in a way that was other than just sitting in a corner and staying silent. It was a weird reaction. I don't know if she was trying to kill herself, but it was just strange.
Well, I mean, certainly to everyone else in the scene, it looked like a kind of giving up on life. Zero hope, right? Not optimistic at all. And then Walt throws in I guess Hank knows, so he brings it up like, well, she's just feeling guilty for the affair that Walt put in Marie's mind, that she put into Hank's mind, and now everybody's trying to think, well, she just needs counseling, and so looking back on it from the perspective of the end of the episode, when Walt says, you're just trying to get the kids out of here and you're going to manipulate things, but that's not going to work, and I'm going to overpower you in that move. It's just kind of, it does look like a interesting chess move on her part that involved, if I do this, then this is going to happen, and then that's going to happen, then everybody's going to think this, and so then I could say that, and then that would happen. Like, it just looked like 3D chess on a way, which almost makes it a little hard to believe. But Skyler's desperate, and a woman who's desperate is going to do any kind of thing. So
yeah,
and she loves her kids, and she's got a very innocent, vulnerable one. Walt Jr. can fend for himself in a lot of ways, although his disability makes that pretty difficult. But she's still a mama bear, and she's got those mama bear instincts. So maybe that's what's going on. Okay, then Mike sends Jesse to go drive, 19 hours to where Lydia is to pick up the barrel of methylamine.
Right.
She's their supplier. So there's something I can't figure out. So he shows up. She asks him in a very paranoid way to verify who he is. She takes him over. They get the barrel. It's got the tracker on it. They put it back. Jesse drives the 19 hours back alone without the methylamine. And Mike finds out and puts it all together and says, oh, she planted that because she's trying to get us to leave her alone and move on to somebody else. So if that's true, and I think we have every reason to think it is true, then Lydia wanted nothing more than for Jesse to come up, to get the barrel, to see it, to leave it, to get out of there. So why does she go through the whole farce that's kind of over the top of like, who sent you and who are you, and verify, like, what if he had said, forget this, I'm out of here, Michael sends somebody else or whatever, then her whole plan would have been thrown off. I don't understand why she wouldn't immediately throw the door open and say, oh, I'm so glad you're here. Let's go get the barrel. I know exactly where it is. Oh my gosh, look, it's got a tracker. I guess you can't take it. Well, I guess they're on to us. So the gig's up. I couldn't figure that out.
If you go from Mike's point of view, that she was behind it all and that she was just manipulating it, then you would think that this is just all a farce and she's just pretending. Now, she might have pretended too hard, whatever, right? But Jesse, on the other hand, doesn't think that, and he believes that she was telling the truth. And we're left with Walt saying, the show goes on, methylamine doesn't stop, we're not ramping down. And then when Jesse comes over to his car and he says, hey, I think I like your plan. It's a good plan. Anyways, happy birthday, and gives him a watch. So we don't know what that plan is in this episode, but that's how the conversation ended.
I thought from Jesse's perspective, Mike just said, okay, well, she betrayed us. She lied to us. She tried to manipulate us. I obviously have to kill her.
Right. And then Jesse said, I say it's a vote.
Right. But the old Jesse is his character, by which I mean like his repeated pattern of acting from the past is reasserting itself here, where he doesn't want to kill the little kid. He wants to. He's got a heart for people, He's the conscience in a lot of ways. So he says, look, let's not kill her. And then he can't convince the other two to say, well, look, she made a mistake, but let's just forgive her. That's not going to work. The only thing he can use to convince them is to say she's useful to us still. Let's keep her alive for that reason. But it's clear to me that he doesn't really care about the argument from utility so much as the argument from, I don't know, a kind of justice or just a pity, I suppose. He just feels for her, even though she just made him drive 38 hours there and back for no reason. And she manipulated him just as much as she manipulated all of them. And he doesn't take that into account at all. All he thinks about is, well, it's a woman and she's kind of pathetic, by which I mean being
sexist. Yeah. As Mike said.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, she's sort of a character that's worthy of pity. So for the time being, at least, they're going to try and find a way to get a different barrel from her and to continue the arrangement. But it's clear that this thing is not something that you can keep going for a long time. Okay, well then I guess the last thing to talk about is the last scene between Walt and Skyler, which I saw as just a major power play. I mean, going back to the chess metaphor, where Skyler says, I did this move to try to manipulate things to get the kids out. Walt says, okay, I see what you did there, and I'm going to do this next, and that's going to bring the kids back. And she's like, okay, well then I'm going to do this, and it's going to get the kids out again. And he says, okay, well then I'm going to do this, and what are you going to do then? And it's a power game, and it reveals at the end that Skyler has the weaker hand. She doesn't really know what she's doing. She points out some contradictions. So to Walt, which I think was really telling for us to see, when Walt says, look, Gus was the danger and he's dead now. So it's fine. The kids are not in danger. And she says, wait a minute. I thought you were the danger.
Right.
And we all realize at that moment, she's right. He is the danger, and having the kids at home around him is not safe.
Right, which he doesn't accept at all at that point.
Right,
because he is in the right no matter what. Because no matter what, he's telling himself that he is doing this for the family, so he is justified.
That's right.
Beyond everything. Right.
So a kind of classic definition of pride is self-delusion, or a sort of looking at yourself wrongly, not seeing yourself for who you really are. And I think this is a sort of quintessential demonstration of that, where he doesn't see himself as the danger at all. He's perfectly safe. What could possibly go wrong? And he doesn't realize that his proclivities and his the path that he's put himself on actually does put those he loves in danger.
And she kind of had the last gut punch, to be honest, when she said,
yeah,
I'm just waiting for the cancer to come back.
Right.
And that's oh man, that got him.
Yeah. Well, and I immediately thought when they were lying in bed earlier and Walt says, I want us to start looking forward to things again. I'm thinking in that moment, she's probably still just thinking, when is he going to die? When is the cancer going to come back? She's not hopeful, looking forward to things. Let's plan trips and birthdays and let's be excited about the future. No, she's waiting for death to come and take him.
Yep.
And so that helps explain to me, why is there such a disconnect between how Skyler is and how Walt is.
Yeah. And he then says something when they're going back with the threats, when he's like, we've never been in a less dangerous time in our lives. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, before you even got into this, we were completely out of danger.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and yeah, when she was just sitting in there smoking, and he tells the story about how, you see this watch, it was given to me by a person, which we know is Jesse, that almost killed me, but chose not to scare you even more.
Just the other day. Yeah, just the other day, a gun was pointed right to my head. Probably going to kill me.
He changed his mind, and you'll change yours. And she doesn't even acknowledge him. She just takes another puff of the cigarette in the house. So she's just... Yeah, she's just buying her time at this point.
Yeah. Well, okay, so final question. Do you think there's any significance to the gift that Jesse gives Walt for his birthday, a watch? I mean, Caves, do you ever sit and just recognize the importance, the significance of the passage of time? The significance of the passage of time. I mean, if you think about it, there's great significance to the passage of time.
Oh
Okay,
man,
but for serious. But I mean, this episode
don't
called
burden me
51.
with that nonsense.
So this episode's called 51. It's a marker of time. It's been a whole year since the show started. And now the gift that Jesse gives him is a mechanism for counting time. And Skyler tells him, I'm just waiting. It's like she's watching the clock, waiting for death to take him. I don't know. These things just kind of came to me. There might be more to it.
Yeah, no, that's all really good. That's true. And I think like when it comes to a watch, it's also like it's a sign of respect, I would think. With Jesse.
Tie. Yeah.
Yeah, like given something like that is they definitely see each other as equals, and Jesse recognizes that Walt does look at him as an equal now. So,
well, I don't think there's any accident to that gift. I don't think they were like, oh, we need him to give him a gift, so let's just how about a watch? I mean, I think there was a lot of thought that went to it. So that's my closing thought. All right, well, we'll just wrap it up there since we're out of time. See what I did there? Okay, thanks everybody for listening. We do appreciate your giving us your attention, and we ask if you like this show that you would help us support us simply by sharing it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I don't know what you're doing. It's the 5th season. I mean, we've been doing this for a long time, but go ahead and subscribe and like, send to your friends, and stay tuned for the next episode when we break into the next episode of Breaking Bad.